Sup? So it's been a minute. It's been a long time since I've made one of these. Ever since I started working. So it's been about a month since I've made a ranting video. And the reason being is primarily because I started working a regular job, and I've just been time wise. I've had less time. Even though I don't work as much, originally I was working 50 hours a week, but then they lowered the hourly cap to only about 35 a week. So I've only been doing that, but the job is full manual labor all day, 11 hours a day. And yeah, so I've been just tired. So the days I have off, because I work 2 days, 1 day off, 2 days, 1 day off. So my body's just been physically tired. Let me shut my door real quick. 1 second. Sorry, that was probably an echo. But yeah, so just because of work. And then the reason why I didn't post any daily docs last week was because of all the BLM events, all the things that were happening around the world. And I just personally didn't believe that my daily docs, my personal story, my daily life was as important as everything that was happening. And I wanted to emphasize or give space for the right content to be out, for information to be out. I didn't want to use room or how do I say it? I didn't want to waste space on the internet for things that did not matter at this moment. And so today, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about me as an Asian American and why I am so avid for Black Lives Matter. And if you didn't know, a lot of Asians probably are very neutral, very apolitical, and I read something talking about that, and that really related to me. Mostly when I look back at who I was 2 years ago, just thinking that I'm a very neutral person in general in everyday life. If someone yelled at me, I wouldn't really care. If someone complimented me, etc., I'm a very whatever person in every aspect of my life. As you can tell, but I'm also opinionated, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I know my opinion doesn't really matter on the macro perspective. But when it comes to art and all that stuff, or anything really, I'm just very whatever. But the reason I can't be whatever about this stuff, about Black Lives Matter, about the Black community and all that stuff, is just because it's been going on for far too long. And if I even take it back further, growing up, back when I was, so my family's Catholic, but I'm not. I'm personally not really religious. I don't really believe in that sort of stuff. Not necessarily, I don't know if I believe in a God or not. I don't know what's out there. I don't know. I'm just very unsure of myself in a religious aspect. I just want to be a good person at the end of the day. But growing up, I was a part of my family's church, and going to that church, I had no friends. I saw it was a fully Vietnamese Catholic community, but but I was very isolated very early on, and growing up, I just wasn't a part of that community. Mainly because I spoke out a lot. I was very, I questioned a lot of things, mostly when you're growing up and someone's throwing religion at you and telling you this is what you have to believe, versus when you ask why, they don't want to answer, because sometimes I personally believe they just don't know. And nothing wrong with that. But growing up, I was just a very curious kid, and I just wanted to know more about why things were happening, why we should believe in this, why we do this, why we don't do this, why we believe in this, why we hate this, etc., etc. And so I got very isolated, very my church didn't like me. End of the day, my church didn't like me. But I think my breaking point, just because my family was religious, I really did. But there's a lot of other things. But in my Saturday school, Sunday school, whatever you guys call it, I had a friend. I only had two friends at that church for the 9th. So growing up, how old are you? 15 when you're 9th grade. So for 15 years, I only had two friends at that church, and one of them was a third. So his name, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was a third Black, a third white, and a third Vietnamese. And we grew up together. We went to that church, and He was one of my only friends at that church, and yeah, so being my only friend, especially outside of church too, I didn't have any friends really in elementary either, just because I was short, chubby, very introverted, very, all I did was read. And yeah, I was just very, my childhood was very isolated. I was very like angry and all that stuff, and I like now I'm like learning to deal with it, learning how to cope. Hopefully I've become a better person at the end of the day. But yeah, growing up, being in a place where you're told that everyone believes in love, everyone should spread love, and you honestly see segregation. You know, you see how all these people treat this one person different because of the color of his skin. And I know that like sometimes I was like, I don't know if you don't mean it or not, but you can tell the feeling's different. You treated him, and because I hung out with him, you treated us as if we were bad people. And eventually we did become those bad people. We did question out. There was one time when we were, they said something and it irritated one of us, and it was funny. They asked us, if you don't want to be here, leave. So me and my friend and our other friend, we stood up and we left. And ever since that, I've had a bad relationship with my church community. So it's weird. I'm not really a part of like this Asian community, so it's hard for me to talk on behalf of the Asian community, if that makes sense, because growing up I didn't have a lot of Asian friends. I only probably like, even now I only have probably like less than 10, maybe less than 5. But even in high school, my high school wasn't full of diversity either, and there was only about 4 to 8 Asians in that school, and then that was what 4. So from 9th to 12th, there's only about 8 Asians that went to my school. So yeah, there wasn't that many Asians for me to really be friends with. But at the same time, I've never believed in just because we're the same, just because we're Asian, we should be friends. I've never believed in that. If we don't click, we don't click. If we don't have anything in common, what's the like? There's no really connection on us starting a friendship or not. But yeah, so that's my early experience where the only friend I had growing up was a Blasian. And we're still friends today. I don't see him as much just because I don't live in Utah, and I stopped going to church. But yeah, and then fast forward to now, right? Fast forward to starting over my life, moving to a different state and just completely starting over. And I can't deny the fact that the first people that wanted to work with me moving out to Seattle were Black. I can't deny that the people who welcomed me, for example, my roommate, the person that helped me get started in Seattle, helped me get started with a new life, helped me move in, adjust to this new lifestyle, and be on my own for the first time, were Black. So I'm very grateful for the people, and I'm not saying because they're Black, I'm that they helped me, blah 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 blah. I'm just saying like I'm grateful that people helped me get where I am today, helped me be in a really good position in my life, and I can't deny their past. I can't deny all of these things that they've been through. And so for me to hear their hardships, for me to hear their experiences, for me to hear why this is such a big deal for them, it like hits me home, because I was like, you guys were there for me when I needed it. And if I can't be there for you, then I'm a shitty person, and then I can't even look at myself if I can't be there for people who are there for me. If we're friends, I'm all or nothing. I'm 100% like there, you know. And I'm a down friend. That's what I'm trying to say. It's I like not like trying to brag about myself, but in any relationship with SirWeAre, there's a lot of events where like when people need me. And if you've helped me, if you're a part of my life, I'll be there for you no matter what it is. And yeah, that's just the type of friendship that I hold myself towards. But yeah, but that's just like the background stuff, right? And the reason why I haven't been posting and all that stuff, obviously I talked about that already, is just because I don't want this. Like, this is the first time the entire country, the entire world, with social media, with the internet, we're all on the same page. And I don't necessarily think it's bad or good, but I think it's impactful. I think it's a powerful thing right now that everyone is mad for the same reason. And obviously there's people on the other spectrum where they're anti against all of this, right? And there's people who are quiet. We'll talk about that in a sec. But with like 50 states protesting, peacefully protesting, and sure there were riots and all that stuff and looters, but you cannot count those people the same way you count everyone peacefully protesting, because there's just so many scenarios. And prior to me going out and protesting myself, obviously I was like, there must be some tension, blah 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 blah, right? And we'll talk about that in a second, but I just need to finish this thought. When the entire country, when 11 countries outside of the U.S. Are mad and protesting for the same thing, we have to keep this momentum going. We can't just, I don't want this to be a trend. I don't want this just to be like, oh, this is the hot topic right now, so I'm going to talk about it. Oh, this is the hot topic right now, so I'm only going to post about it. But once this trend dies, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I don't want that to happen. I don't want, at the end of this, I don't know what's going to happen, but there needs to be a change, and it can't be just like the 4 people can't just be arrested and done, and then we stop, right? The real issue, the real thing I'm thinking about is like, what's going to happen after these protests stops? What's going to happen after the momentum dies down? And that's the reason I don't want to be posting random content right now. That's the reason why I don't feel appropriate posting selfies. I don't feel appropriate posting pictures of models. I don't feel appropriate shooting right now. And yeah, that's one reason why I've just put a lot of things on halt. And I'm not necessarily like mad at people who do that, but if you aren't aware, I've talked about this, and some people have reached out to me talking about so we'll go into like why silence is a bad thing. I feel like I've become very opinionated, and I've been writing a lot more about these things. And obviously, some people I follow, some people I work with are personally offended. They feel personally attacked toward these things. And when I make these rants, when I talk about these things, I'm not really targeting any specific person. I'm just saying it as someone, how I view it, you know? For example, there's some people with only like 100 to 1,000 followers, and then there's other people with 100K, and I see these people with no influence, with very little influence, doing way more than these people with an actual influence, because these influencers that you guys look up to, all they care about is posting their regular selfies. All they care about is posting pictures of them in bikinis. All they care about is waiting for the world to go back to how it was in order for them to pretend like this isn't an issue. And that's the issue I have. And when people post regular content, no shade, no shame, and do what you want to be doing. It's your life. At the end of the day, you're in control of your life. You're in control of what you want to post. No one can be the judge and jury of your life, except for you. But just know, like, every time you post something irrelevant to this thing, you're killing the momentum, because when you post about your regular days and there's someone having a really bad day, and you're just taking away from that. And I get everyone has their own problems. Obviously, I have my own problems. Why do you think I make these videos? Why do you think I have no friends and I talk to a camera? Like, we all have our own issues. Just right now, I honestly believe that our personal issues aren't as big as this macro perspective issue at the moment. So when people post regular content, you're killing the momentum. You're killing important information and room for the internet to grow and expand and change. That's the issue I have. And that's why I can't personally justify going back to how it was. I can't justify posting regular content, and eventually I will. Obviously, like, I'm making this video, and I will eventually use my daily docs again. But this first week, I want it to be a strong, very focused content. I wanted this just to all be about the BLM. And I'm not saying if you don't want to donate, if you don't want to sign petitions, if you don't want to protest, you don't have to. I'm not saying that at all. But when you're silent and all you choose to do is live your regular life and turn off your phone because you're having a bad day and this is too much for you, just know people don't have that. People don't have that privilege that you have right now to think these things. People don't have that right, that basic human right that we're fighting for, to continue living their regular life, because their regular life is at stake right now. And I don't know. I don't know why this is such a big deal. Why this is such a big deal for people to just say Black Lives Matter. Like, we get all lives matter. We get, like, no one's saying fuck all cops. Like, even if you are saying fuck all cops, it's like saying when women or people or society say all, like, men are trash. Obviously, not all men are trash. Just the men that are trash are just so loud and abrupt that they cause everyone else to look bad. Because if you know you're a good person, that's all that matters. And so the same thing is with the cop. But the reason why this is such a big issue, the reason why people are so mad at cops, is because even though one cop did something bad, all these other cops are watching and not doing a single thing. And I get, like, your job is at risk. There's a scenario where this one cop quit, resigned or whatever, and he drove to an abandoned area, and I can't remember his name. I can't even remember, like, the location, but I remember just, like, the details where he resigned, went to an abandoned location, and started outing all these bad things that cops were doing, right? And next thing you know, all the cops lined around this abandoned area that he was at and killed him. See, like, I get there's corruption and all that stuff, and it's hard to not talk about or relate to, because obviously I don't know a lot of those things. And for me personally, I've had good experiences with cops, but I can't deny that I've had friends that had bad experiences for doing nothing. I've been in situations where a group of us did something bad, right? And because I was Asian, because I looked like a good kid, all my friends got in trouble except for me. I've been in scenarios like that, and so I know I have privilege. I know that I have a specific look that makes me look a certain way, and I get away with a lot of things. I know that the way I talk to people, the way I relate to people, I have influence that way, and I have a privilege that way of talking. So I can't just go on here and pretend I don't have privilege. And I get I have my problems. I get the Asian community has their problems. I get other people, like people of color, have their problems, right? But right now we're focused on Black Lives Matter not just because, it's because we need to fix this issue in order to fix our other issues. How are you going to demand for higher paying jobs when there's a whole entire community, there's a whole entire, like, I don't want to say race because, but the entire, like, black community is already they're sectioned out where they're already paid less. And if you're a woman, if you're a trans, all stuff, and you're black, you're even in a worse situation, and you can't deny that. So if you want us to move forward, if you want if you want higher pay, if you want equal rights, if you want women's rights, you want all these things, it starts with one step forward first. And this is the step, right? And I don't get how some of you guys relate to one issue, but you can't relate to the other issue. I don't get how, and if you're gonna say something about, like, oh, black people are racist towards Asians, okay, but that's not all of them. How are you gonna say one person is racist towards me, so I'm gonna hate this entire race, right? For me, that's what I'm learning to deal with, right? I personally don't like a lot of Asian people just because I grew up with an entire church hating me. Okay? I personally don't relate to a lot of Asian issues because I was very disassociated, where I was, like, cut off from all these people. Then now I'm learning that I can't blame every Asian person I meet for why I don't like or I have feelings towards Asian people in a certain way. And it's weird for me to say, it's not like I don't hate Asians. I have I'm Asian, you know? It's like, but it's like, I can't deny your experience and you can't deny mine, because I live the life I live and you live the life you live. You experience how you experience. and I can't be the judge of that, right? But for you to not know what it's like to be treated a certain way, or if you think that people can't decipher how you should be dealing with issues, then think about how they feel. We can't, since I am not black, I can't talk as a black man. I can't talk about why I face these type of racist acts. I can't talk about these segregations acts that are acted upon me. I can't relate in that way, but I can try to empathize. I am not going to deny your reality as long as you don't deny mine. And I'm going to support you as long as I can. But I don't even know if this really helps, but yeah, that's just some of my thoughts. And silence is a big deal in this day and age. If you're silent, at the end of the day, what it looks like, what it might even be, is you just don't care. And for me personally, I know a lot of people that obviously a lot of people don't watch this, but I have friends on here that I really do like. But after this, we'll still probably be friends, and all that stuff. But I can't look at you the same. You know, I can't be like, oh, I can rely on this person. And in all honesty, I don't rely on a lot of people in general. So, but after this, it just makes me. It shows silence shows your colors. It kind of shows you what side you're on. And I wrote something where the reason why I have such a big issue with this is because you're uncomfortable with the amount of content or information about the Black Lives Matter movement, and you're uncomfortable, and you want your things to go back to normal. You want to be able to post without the fear of being judged. You want to be able to show your regular day without the feeling of being judged. And the reason you're uncomfortable is because you know why there's an issue, and you don't want to talk about it. And that's the issue I have. You wanted to emphasize everything that's wrong about these protests without acknowledging what's right, what needs to be done. And the fact that you're uncomfortable is why you need to think about why you don't want to talk about this. I'm not saying that you need to talk about it because I'm saying you should. I'm not saying you need to talk about it at all. I'm just saying, look at yourself, look really within yourself and say, am I racist? Am I not racist? I don't necessarily think I'm racist, but I might be ignorant. I might not know what's really happening, but why am I not willing to learn? Ask yourself all these things. Like, really look within yourself, right? And I think that's a hard thing because we live within ourselves, and a lot of us, the reason why we like social media is because we can disassociate ourselves from how we really feel inside. And talk about why you have such a stigma towards a certain group of people, why you believe these things when when you've never experienced it, why when someone tells you someone's bad, you believe them rather than judging for yourself. There's a lot of things we should be asking ourselves why. And like I said again, if you're uncomfortable, you really need to think about why. See you next time.